Philippine Health Department logs 97 more cases of the highly infectious COVID-19 Delta variant. Of the 97 new cases detected, 88 are local cases. 6 are returning overseas Filipinos, while 3 others are still for verification. This brings the total Delta variant cases in the Philippines to 216, but the actual number may be higher, as the Philippine Genome Center is only sequencing a small percentage of the positive cases. Despite the looming threat of the Delta variant, Metro Manila will remain under General Community Quarantine or GCQ, with heightened restrictions until August 15. GCQ is a more relaxed form of quarantine lockdown. Before this, Metro Manila mayors recommend putting the capital region under the strictest form of lockdown. But MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos, coordinator of all Metro Manila mayors, on Thursday, July 29, says their proposal has not reached President Rodrigo Duterte. No thanks to a muted presentation on Zoom.
Kahapon, tinapos namin to. And then nagpunta ako doon sa talk to the people ng presidente. Inarap ko Ang problema ko, mali. Wala pala akong volume. Sabi nila sa akin, walang volume, walang lumabas. Ang haba ko nag-present, wala palang volume lumabas sa bibig ko.
Without hearing Abalos' appeal, Duterte on Wednesday, July 28, proceeds to approve the new quarantine classifications his pandemic task force proposed. Iloilo City, Iloilo Province, Cagayan de Oro City, and Gingoog City will stay under Enhanced Community Quarantine or ECQ until August 7. Ilocos Norte, Bataan, Lapu-Lapu City, and Mandawi City will be under Modified ECQ from August 1 to 15. Metro Manila joins Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, and 16 other areas that will be under GCQ with heightened restrictions from August 1 to 15. Meanwhile, General Community Quarantine or GCQ will be in place for the following areas. The rest of the country will be under modified GCQ for the entire month of August. Due to the uptick in cases, the Health Department on Thursday says the Philippines is back from low risk to moderate risk classification. Average cases from July 22 to 28 is 6,029, higher than the 5,576 average from the previous week. Duterte in his late-night address says he wants police and barangay captains to restrict the movement of unvaccinated individuals.
Ito ngayong ayaw magpabakuna, sinasabi ko sa inyo, huwag kayong lumabas ng bahay. Kasi pag lumabas kayo ng bahay, sabihin ko sa mga pulis, ibalik ka doon sa bahay mo, you'll be escorted back to your house because you are a walking spreader.
But Malacanang clarifies the government will not yet enforce the president's order. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says Duterte was just thinking of how to keep the economy going in the event of a partial lockdown, giving consideration to those who are already vaccinated. In related news, Police Chief General Guillermo Eleazar sacks Quezon City Station 3 Commander Lieutenant Colonel Christine Tabdi for deploying 51 police officers, who later on tested positive for COVID-19 during Duterte's last State of the Nation address. Eleazar says the PNP started contract tracing to determine the close contacts of the infected cops. Another Filipino boxer, Eumir Marcial, advances to the quarterfinals after the referee stops the fight in the opening round of a men's middleweight round of 16 bout in the Tokyo Olympics Thursday, July 29. This puts Marcial a win away from at least a bronze medal. With this, he can join women's world champion Nesty Petesio in making history for Philippine boxing with multiple medals. The 25-year-old Filipino boxer will face Armenian Armand Darchinyan in the quarterfinals for a shot in the medal round on Sunday, August 1, 11:36 a.m. Philippine time. Meantime, President Rodrigo Duterte congratulates the country's first Olympic gold medalist, Heidelin Diaz, in a virtual courtesy call right after her arrival in Manila Wednesday, July 28.
The nation is ecstatic about your achievement. Your achievement is the achievement of the Philippine nation. So we are extremely proud. You already have the gold. Gold is gold. and it would be good for you to just let bygones be bygones and dwell solely on your victory together with your family and, of course, with the nation.
He even hints Diaz can use her fame for political ends.
You are already a celebrity. It's a political stock. So keep note of that. One day you'd want to also to baka makatulong ka sa country in some other way other than being a soldier.
Diaz is also set to receive the Presidential Medal of Merit, a recognition given by the government to individuals for gaining prestige for the country in an international event. The president announces he will give Diaz 3 million pesos from the budget of the Office of the President, apart from the 10 million pesos Diaz is entitled to by law as an Olympic gold medalist. In 2019, Duterte's office dragged Diaz's name in a malicious list of people supposedly out to destabilize the government called the Matrix. The palace has yet to apologize for the unfounded accusation. Activists protesting the spread of COVID-19 disinformation on Facebook set up installations of blue body bags with tags saying "Disinfo kills" at Facebook's headquarters in Washington, D.C. Thursday, July 29, Manila time. The protest is staged by the Real Facebook Oversight Board, or RFOB, a group of critics that denounces the company for surveillance capitalism, the spread of disinformation, and its monopolistic role in the tech ecosystem. The RFOB includes critics such as Roger McNamee, surveillance capitalism author Shoshana Zuboff, former head of election integrity at Facebook Yael Eisenstadt, and Rappler CEO Maria Ressa. The group conducts the protest on the day of the release of Facebook's earnings report for the second quarter of 2021. Facebook spokesperson Andy Stone on Twitter calls it a cheap stunt. Shortly before the release of Facebook's earnings report, the RFOB also released its own Facebook Quarterly Harms Report that documents how Facebook harms COVID-19 literacy, human life, and democracy. The Harms Report lists 5 disinformation superspreaders not specific to COVID-19 or vaccination. The Harms Report follows an earlier study by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, which found that about 73% of COVID-19 anti-vaccination content on Facebook can be traced to 12 individuals. This includes the top spreader, Joseph Mercola, a doctor entrepreneur who has been accused of exploiting medical fears to sell his own products, and who has an office in the Philippines. Riders Group Kapatiran ng Dalawang Gulong or Kagulong slams the government's recently released advisory on food delivery and courier work. Under Labor Advisory Number 14, the Labor Department says that riders, if considered freelancers, are governed by their contracts with the digital platform company. DOLE does not define whether riders should be considered employees or not, but it says there are tests to be undertaken to see if they are. Kagulong calls the advisory useless. Kagulong says the Labor Department pretends to do something in the face of platform work disputes when it actually is not resolving anything. The group adds the advisory only affirms what presently exists, that food delivery riders are considered independent contractors and thus are at the mercy of opaque app policies and algorithms. In mid-July, Foodpanda delivery riders in Davao City protesting the firm's pay structure were suspended for 10 years. Davao City Riders Group President Edmond Carillo argues an employer-employee relationship exists between the riders and Foodpanda. Tsunami warnings have been lifted for Alaska and the rest of the Pacific after a magnitude 8.2 earthquake struck the seismically active U.S. state. The tremor struck in the late hours of Wednesday, July 28, or July 29, Manila time. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center also cancels warnings issued for Hawaii and the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. Authorities in Japan and New Zealand also say there is no risk and no flooding is expected in coastal areas. Several Alaskan coastal communities have been evacuated following the earthquake. The U.S. Geological Survey says the earthquake, which struck at 10:15 p.m. local time, was at a depth of 35 kilometers, about 800 kilometers from Anchorage, Alaska's biggest city. According to the USGS, the earthquake is followed by over 25 aftershocks in the region, with 2 around magnitude 6. There are no reports of loss of life or damage to property.